Alright, this is going to be part 4 of my X-Men Apocalypse spoiler review. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the remaining 3 horsemen of Storm, Psylocke, and Archangel. So, beginning with Storm, I want to preface this by saying that Alexandria's ship exceeded my expectations. I started out, with the casting announcement and with some of the things I had heard about the actions in which she'd been involved with other movie-wise. I had very low expectations because I knew she had been involved with the Olivia biopic, which apparently bombed and it just wasn't the one. And apparently she wasn't very good in it either. It wasn't even a situation where she was awesome, but the rest of the movie failed. Apparently she also failed in that movie. But she might have been in other movies and maybe they were impressed with other work and that's why they cast her. I wasn't impressed at first, but then when I actually saw the movie and when I heard her speak, I was just through the moon, just so impressed, so living, all the life was given to me and she was responsible for it. I loved her accent, I loved her look. She definitely delivered in this role. That being said, unfortunately, Storm was very grossly underdeveloped. I felt like, we did get a nice little taste of her origin as being a thief in Cairo. But we didn't see anything about her being worshipped as a goddess. We didn't see anything about her lineage and how she's descended from Kenyan priestesses. And her white hair didn't come until Apocalypse enhanced her and changed her, altered her genetics. It wasn't because she naturally had that feature, because that's one of her. She was born with white hair. That is one of her features. In the comics, she has white hair and blue eyes, and it comes from her mother's lineage. She and her mother come from a long line of Kenyan priestesses who all had a natural affinity for white magic, and it's possible that due to their connection to that magic, that it did something to them on a cellular level that made them have white hair and blue eyes and very interesting, unique features for not only for Black women, for African women, but for anyone. White hair is not that common, and blue eyes are actually not that common either, especially amongst Black people. So those were definitely features that makes her that are her visual trademarks in the comics. We know her for her white hair, and I just don't like that he gave her that. I'm just not 100% on that. Also, in the comics, her origin is like Cyclops, like a lot of the X-Men. She had a very tragic origin of dealing with a situation in which her parents were killed in front of her. She and her parents were at home, having a good old time. It was all peace, rainbows, and sunshine until out of nowhere, their place gets bombed from air bombers or something like that, or some kind of air fight or something like that. There's something going on. I don't know if I can't remember if it was a bomb or if it was an entire plane crashed into them. But either way, their home got destroyed and her parents were killed instantly, and she was trapped under the rubble. Well, also I believe she could see her parents' corpses, at least under the rubble or whatever. But this is what triggered her claustrophobia, and in the comics, it's one of the things that she has dealt with and battled for years, her battle with claustrophobia, and it's one of the things that definitely humanizes the character and makes her more, definitely more human, more relatable, because she's not just an infinitely powerful mutant goddess who can just do anything and has no flaws, because no one likes that. No one likes a Mary Sue, and that's something that Storm is not. And I feel like her origin definitely helps make her more of a believable and human character in that way. And, with the claustrophobia, but also, I believe it's when she was a preteen that she was a thief in Cairo, whereas in the movie, it's, you know, she's definitely like a teenager of at least, she's anywhere between 15 and like, well, 17, I guess. You know, but like, yeah, she's younger when she's a thief in Cairo, and she didn't have her powers then. She attempts to pick the pocket of Professor Xavier, which leads to a confrontation with the Professor and Shadow King, who was, I think, also involved with Storm in some way. I think she might have been like working for him or someone else when he had his human form, and he was known as Amal Farouk. And then in the battle, that's when Amal Farouk's body was destroyed, and he became the Shadow King, living in the astral plane, and he hated both He hated both Charles and Storm because of it. Anyway, in the comics, it's after she's a thief in Cairo where she learns her pickpocketing skills, and like she's a skilled thief. And it gave her like street smarts and everything like that. And I think also that's where she learned how to fight, because she's a skilled fighter in the comics. But it's after that when she discovers her power. Is when she discovers her powers, and she discovers that she could control the weather, and she uses her powers. People see her use her powers, and they worship her as a goddess. They like put her on this pedestal, and they're like worshiping her, and she's using her powers to like help out with like the crops and everything like that by like making it rain and helping like everything grow, all the vegetation, and she's like giving them like the best harvest and seasons that they can hope for and everything like that. And you know, and it's these things, these many different layers of Storm's origin that makes her such a unique and complex character that she is in the comics, because, you know, it's her earlier history with her parents' death and the claustrophobia that causes like a lot of the inner turmoil and the limitations and everything like that makes her more human. And then it's, you know, the thief that gave her like that street edge kind of thing. Like it gave her like that street edge, and you know, her street smarts, her fighting skills, her lockpicking skills, her thief skills, everything like that. And that's part of what brings her and Gambit together, because in the comics she gets de-aged, and she's kind of back at that point where she was a thief, and he's a thief, and they kind of like bond. Yes, and so that's another layer. And then it's when she's worshipped as a goddess that brings about like the very regal nature of Storm, because more than just the fact that she was worshipped as a goddess, in her actual family history, she's descended from Kenyan priestesses. So she's actual royalty. Like she's actual, you know, African Kenyan royalty. You know, she's not just some chick who ends up marrying Black Panther in the comics. Like, you know, she was already royal in her own right. And she's a very complex character of like having like that street edge and that roughness, but also being, you know, very poised, very like tall, like, you know, perfect posture, regal woman. Beautiful, gorgeous, but also very regal, like definitely a head held high, a very strong, capable leader, charismatic, all those things. And it's also due to her powers that she has to keep her emotions under control, because her powers are fueled by her emotions. And if she it gives into extreme emotions, then that could cause some extreme dangerous weather. And so she has to keep her emotions in check. And that's another thing that is, I think, has been ignored in a lot of these movies. So I feel like all these things could have been explored, at least to a degree. I know that there wasn't enough time to devote to Storm alone, just like with, you know, Scott and other people. But I feel like they could have made the effort to like give them more character development, because like, they took the time for Magneto. He got a lot. He got a whole lot. But other people, I feel like they just kind of suffered for it. Let's see. Also, I feel like in this particular instance, in the comics, she obviously did not become a Horseman of Apocalypse. She didn't start out as a villain. You know, this was definitely the invention of the movies. But I felt like in this instance, we knew she was going to be a Horseman. We knew she was going to start out as a villain. I think that her being worshipped as a goddess, being the moment when Apocalypse meets her, would have been so much more interesting and so much more compelling, because it would have shown an interesting parallel between how he started out as a powerful mutant, worshipped as a god in Egypt and everything like that. And then we could have jumped forward to her in the 80s in Kenya, her being worshipped as a goddess, because in the comics she's worshipped as a goddess in Kenya while she still was a thief in Cairo. So that part was true in the movie when they had her in Cairo as a thief, although she didn't have her powers at the time and she was younger. But anyway, yeah, I feel like that would have been a much more interesting parallel between how he was worshipped as a god and then she was worshipped as a goddess. And instead of like, oh, you're like my little thief and like, let me enhance you. It's like, oh, like you're my goddess. Like you will, like you and I and other people will rule together. Like we will do all the things to make this world a better place, fit for us and fit for our kind, you know? I thought that would have been more interesting, and instead of like, oh, she's a black-haired mutant, who gets enhanced, and that's how she gets her white hair, and that's how she becomes powerful. Because that's interesting. Wow. She didn't have a lot to do. I felt like she was glossed over quite a bit in a lot of ways. I already mentioned the hair thing, didn't like how it happened in the movie. Let's see. Another thing, kind of a final thing about Storm, which is kind of a minor thing, but is that I feel like they never give her any romances. They never really give her any love, and I feel like that's a problem. I feel like the only time we ever see anyone in relationships in these movies is someone white. You know, Charles and Moira, Scott and Jean, Wolverine and Jean, Wolverine and, well, Mariko is Japanese, so that was an interracial relationship, which I'm for. And then also Wolverine and Silver Fox, who I believe she was supposed to be Native American or half or something, so that's also interracial. But still, like, the black girl gets nothing, the beautiful black girl gets nothing. I mean, in X2, yes, you could argue that she and Kurt had some kind of weird, low-key attraction for each other. And I say weird because nothing ever came of it. They were just low-key eye-fucking each other here and there, but nothing ever came of it. They never kissed. Nothing ever happened between them. It just didn't go anywhere. And then he disappeared from the movies. They could explore that later. Maybe they can bring in Forge, who is a Native American mutant who has a romantic history with both Storm and Mystique. So you can kind of go either way with that. But I feel like Storm needs love. Like, she needs to get some love. And she needs to get some character development. She needs some love behind the camera as well as in front of it. Like, they need to give her some good storylines and some good character development and show off her leadership potential. I feel like, you know, Scott is supposed to be like a leader and everything like that. I didn't see that in this movie. There were no instances where Scott would ever be a leader, in my opinion. It was really just Raven and Charles, which of course, you know, he's always like the leader, but like mentor, not quite field leader. But like clearly Mystique is the field leader of the X-Men now. And it's like, okay, blue Katniss for the win, I guess. But Storm is also a leader, and I feel like we definitely are not getting that here. And I feel like it's because of her layered and complex history that makes her such an effective leader and such an interesting and compelling character, and a lot of missed opportunities with this character, unfortunately. Speaking of missed opportunities, we have Psylocke. I feel like Olivia Munn definitely looked the part. Although I had a little bit of a problem with her hair. I didn't like that she had like purple highlights. I would have liked her entire hair to be purple. If they had to like put a wig on it, if she just wasn't willing to do like the whole like dye thing, because, you know, dyeing your hair, no matter how you do it, damages it, at least on some level. Like how damaged it is depends on the skill of the person doing it, but it always gets damaged. But yeah, like I said, they could have put a wig on it. They could have did a really good wig. But no, they thought highlights would do fine. Highlights and dark hair would be enough. Her outfit was straight from the comics, which was interesting. Other than the heels, she had high heels, which yes, they were sexy. They looked good, but they were completely impractical for battle. Like let's face it. That was another thing too, kind of a minor thing in terms of like her action sequences and everything like that. Psylocke in the comics, especially being in the body of a Japanese ninja, she is an assassin, well, with assassin skills, and she has master martial, like she's a master martial artist. She is a fighter. Even more than she uses her powers after the body swap, she is a fighter. Like she'll beat your ass and then do the side knife to kind of like, you know, end the fight. But yeah. But here, she demonstrated no type of fighting skill, in my opinion. All she really did was sword fighting with the side blade and then with the real blade. And at first, I was wondering what the real blade was doing there. I'm like, why does she need that? But then I thought about it. And I'll try to briefly talk a little bit about her powers for people who don't know, like how they work and everything like that. So Psylocke has gone through, in the comics, has gone through a few power changes. She started out as a telepath. She's a mutant telepath with really strong telepathy, and she had like a butterfly sort of power signature that would appear like over her face or like over her eyes or over her head. And she was powerful enough to be able to shatter Cerebra when she was wearing it. And she was able to fend herself off from Sabretooth. This was when she was in her original Caucasian body as a British woman, Betsy Braddock. Really strong telepathy. But then after, there's a situation that happens, the Siege Perilous or something like that, in which her mind is transferred into the body of a Japanese ninja. The ninja's name is Kawanin. And in her body, in the ninja's body, she has her fighting skills, her master martial arts, and her powers kind of remain, but are only at half strength, her telepathic powers. But she does learn how to manifest her telepathic strength into a 6-inch tall psi blade that comes out of her fist that she can use to like jam into a person's like head to either stun or kill them, depending on the intensity and the intent that she has. It was really powerful. It was really cool. And I think she still had like full telepathy beyond that, but it still was only at half strength. She reunites with a woman with Kawanin, whose body was transferred into her mind. And then when they meet, their some of their like physical features kind of like blend together, and to the point where they both kind of look Eurasian, British, and Japanese. And so the casting of Olivia Munn, who is mixed race, I believe she's I don't know what she is specifically, but I know that she's Asian. She's half Asian, I think half white. And so that made sense because that's what happens. They're Kawanin and Betsy's features mix, and they both look Eurasian, like white and Asian. Anyway, so that's what happens there. Later on, she gives up her telepathy to Jean Grey so that her telepathic power can boost, and then Jean gives her telekinesis. They do like a power switch. And then in becoming a telekinetic, she learns how to manifest her telekinetic energy, not telepathic, but telekinetic energy as a huge rose-colored telekinetic katana that can be used to slice through physical matter, but does not slice through organic matter. So she could slice through like a man wearing a suit of armor. It would slice the armor, but it wouldn't hurt the man physically. But what it would do is it would stun him. Unlike the side knife, the telekinetic katana does not have the power to kill. The side knife could potentially kill if she did it, if she wanted it to, and if she were like angry enough or whatever, if it was strong enough, she could potentially kill someone. But the telekinetic katana, no matter how strong it is, could not kill. It only could stun once it hits organic matter. So that being said, the real sword was there because if she needed to kill someone, to execute someone, she could kill them with the sword. And that made sense to me. That made sense why, you know, when Apocalypse thought it was her, because it was Mystique, and she had the sword, she's getting ready to kill Peter, that's why she had the real sword out, because the side katana wouldn't have killed him. So anyway, there's that brief explanation of her powers. Let's see. But however, she was underdeveloped too, even more so than Storm, because she just shows up as a bodyguard for Caliban, and that's it. I don't think they even ever say her real name. We only know her as Psylocke. there was low-key, there seemed to be some kind of past knowledge or relationship possibly between her and Angel. In the comics, they were a big thing. They were a couple for a while. Not so much anymore. That's kind of a thing of the past, but they definitely were. But here it was unexplained how she knew him and everything like that. I guess it's because she worked with Caliban and she'd encountered him before. Maybe she might have been responsible for him being in that fighting cage in the first place. Maybe their relationship wasn't a good one. Who knows? In the end, after everything was all said and done and like the horsemen were defeated and Apocalypse was killed, she gets up and she looks angry AF. I'm like, why is she so mad though? Why is she so mad? And then I thought about it and I'm like, Archangel was killed in the movie. In fact, she almost died in the same situation, but he didn't get out and so he died when the jet exploded. Maybe that's why she got mad, because he died. But then it's like, but why? Like, we don't know anything about their relationship. They never talked about if they actually dated, if there was a thing between them, if they were friends, if maybe she just had pity for him, if she just respected him as a teammate, like, or was she mostly mad about Apocalypse and not being able to, like, win and, like, take over or things like that. But, like, she walked away basically looking like she's gonna come back to be a villain or something. And I'm just like, so Mystique gets to be on this team, but Psylocke isn't? That makes no sense. Psylocke has a long history of being with the X-Men, and Mystique has a long history of being against the X-Men. Whereas in the comics, yes, Mystique has also been a part of the X-Men, but she was never really with the X-Men. It was revealed that she wasn't really with them, I think. She was kind of backstabbing them, I think. She betrays them because she's working for the Marauders. This was around the time of Messiah Complex. It was right before Messiah Complex. Let's see. Yeah, I was not a fan that she didn't actually fight. Her fighting scene was kind of cool when she was fighting Beast with the sword, and the whip was new. I was like, oh, I had never seen that before. I saw the movie with my best friend, and she like looked at me because she knows that I'm all about the X-Men, and she knows that I know everything about them. She like looked at me, she's like, could she do that before? I'm like, no, this is new. Like, I've never seen her do that before. I'm like, I've seen her do like throwing knives and like side blades, like throwing blades, in the animated series, the first X-Men animated series, and in the X-Men Legends game, she could throw blades, but I've never seen her do like a whip. That was actually really cool. But other than that, I was upset that we never really understood if she was actually a telepath or a telekinetic. I know that her blade was telekinetic, but like we never seen her use like full telekinesis. We never see her use telepathy or anything. Like, it's just the blades and like the energy, that's it? Come on. Even when she did the body swap with Kawanin in the comics, and she mostly used the side knife, she still had telepathy. She still could like read minds and like communicate and do stuff, and she still like had the butterfly stuff going on. Like, it still worked. Like, I don't understand. Like, but then there was a time also, you know, with the side katana that she only had telekinesis, but she used telekinesis too. The blade mostly, but she used telekinesis, like, to do things, to move stuff, to blast things, like, nothing. Let's see, also, I felt like, why does she have to fight Beast? I felt like she should have easily been able to take him out. I didn't feel like that was much of a fight at all. If she would have had her actual martial arts, I think that she and Raven fighting would have been an amazing scene if, like, they would have fought. If they did mostly, like, hand-to-hand until, like, she unleashed the katana or, like, the sai knife. That would have been so cool, and I would have been so for it. But for whatever reason, they didn't want to train Olivia Munn in martial arts, or they didn't want to do, like, a stunt double, which would have been super obvious. I'm not really sure what their motivation was there, but yeah, the obvious fight that should have went down would have been Raven and Betsy. That would have been awesome, but nah, they wanted to have Beast for some reason. Archangel, finally. Whew. Wasted and underdeveloped. They didn't even say his name, his real name. Warren Worthington III is his real name in the comics. He comes from a wealthy background. He is upper class, one of the 1%. He is wealthy and rich, and he has money. He comes from privilege. But here, he's just some guy who's stuck in the fighting cage, the mutant fighting cage, low-key like Wolverine in the very first movie, but It wasn't quite the same, but similar enough. The actor who played him was ridiculously hot. When he was shirtless, when Apocalypse came in, his wings were damaged, so that wasn't cool. But, like, he was hot. I'm like, ooh, okay. But still, you can't ignore that he was underdeveloped. I'm like, well, damn. Like, okay. Sure. Yeah, he's just a mutant fighter who is apparently forced to do so because he told Kurt, like, if you don't fight me, if we don't do this, they're going to kill us both. And they didn't really explore that. They didn't explore what was really going on there, in my opinion. Maybe they did, and I missed it. If they did, let me know in the comments below. He was the least powerful of the Horsemen by far, yet he was the only one who has, you know, been a part of the Horsemen in, like, the comics and in other, like, sources, like in shows and stuff and in games. He was the only one who is, like, usually portrayed to be a member of the Horsemen. Usually what Apocalypse does with this Horseman is that he has one member who's, like, a long-standing X-Man, and in the comics for a lot of the time it was Angel becoming Archangel, and, like, you know, him having a long history of being a hero, a part of the X-Men, and also being a hero, a solo hero in his own right, known as the Avenging Angel and everything like that. You know, he did it on his own for a little bit. I think he might have also been a part of a different superhero team. I'm not sure. No, maybe it was just Beast who was part of the Defenders. I don't know. I don't think Angel was a part of that. But anyway, he had a long history of being a good guy, many years, many decades of development and everything like that, until, like, this Archangel situation happened. And that's where I feel like this movie went wrong about how he becomes Archangel. It's just some guy, his wings get damaged, we don't know anything about him, and then Apocalypse comes in and he's just like, oh, we're going to use you because reasons. But why? Because, again, he was the least powerful. I just didn't understand why he needed him. In the comics, his wings are damaged when the Marauders attack the Morlocks, and Angel tries to defend some of them, and he gets his wings impaled by the mutant known as Harpoon. With his energy harpoons, he cripples his wings, and he's not able to, like, use his wings anymore. I don't know if his wings also get cut off after that, or they, like, have to be amputated, but he basically doesn't really have his wings anymore. And then that's when Apocalypse comes in and gives him the wings and brainwashes him, and his skin also turns blue, and he becomes Archangel. I don't mind the fact that he wasn't blue in this movie, because we had way too many blue mutants anyway. We had Apocalypse, we had Mystique, who was hardly blue, so does she even really count? And then we had Nightcrawler, and then we also had, wasn't there someone else? Beast. Yeah, Beast. Hella blue mutants. It would have been too weird if we had another one. But his wings did look cool. I liked the fact that he could throw the spikes. I wish that they would have done the ones, like in the animated series, one of them, I don't remember which one, I think it might be the first one, where when he throws the spikes, sometimes it's like just the sharp ones, but also it's the ones that can explode. They're like little bombs. Like, that would have made him way more powerful, way more badass, but no, they didn't want to do that. I was like, okay. Let's see, what else do we have? Let's see. Yeah, and so he dies in the movie, and his death meant nothing because he was evil, and because we didn't know anything about him. So he'll never be a member of the X-Men. He'll never, you know, be a part of that team. He'll never actually get with Betsy or anything or anyone. You know, he's just dead. He's just a hot, pretty mutant with badass wings who tried to kill Nightcrawler, failed, and died. Alright. But anyway, my next video I will be discussing, I'll try to cram in Jubilee, Jean Grey, and then this next one kind of counts as one topic, but Wolverine /Stryker /Weapon X facility. And then the one after that we'll discuss after the next one. So stay tuned for more.